Both Hansa and Ingvaka have fallen. Kansa, with all his followers, has been slain. The time hath, therefore, come for the destruction of Jarasandha. He is capable of being vanquished in battle even by all the Celestials and the Asuras. We think, however, that he should be vanquished in a personal struggle with bare arms. In me is policy, in Bhima is strength, and in Arjuna is triumph. And therefore, as prelude to performing the Rajasuya, we will certainly achieve the destruction of the ruler of Magadha. When we three approach that monarch in secret, and he will, without doubt, be engaged in an encounter with one of us, from fear of disgrace, from covetousness, and from pride of strength, he will certainly summon Bhima to the encounter. Like death himself that slay a person, however swollen with pride, the long-armed and mighty Bhimasena will effect the destruction of the king. If thou knowest my heart, if thou hast any faith in me, then make over to me as a pledge Bhima and Arjuna without loss of time. Thus addressed by the exalted one, Yudhishthira, beholding both Bhima and Arjuna standing with cheerful faces, replied, saying, Say not so. Thou art the lord of the Pandavas. We are dependent on thee. What thou sayest is consistent with wise counsels. Thou never leadest those upon whom prosperity hath turned her back. Who stay under thy command, regard that Jarasandha is already slain, that the monarchs confined by him have already been set free, that the Rajasuya have already been accomplished by me. Lord of the universe, thou best of persons, watchful art thou so, that this task may be accomplished. Without ye, then I dare not live, like a sorrowful man afflicted with disease, and bereft of the three attributes of morality, pleasure, and wealth. Partha cannot live without Sauri, nor can Sauri live without Partha, nor is there anything in the world that is unconquerable by these two, Krishna and Arjuna. Of great renown, what can he not achieve when with ye two? Troops, when properly led, always do excellent service. A force without a leader have been called inert by the wise. Forces, therefore, should always be led by experienced commanders. Into places that are low, the wise always conduct the water. Even fishermen cause the water to run out through holes. We shall, therefore, strive to accomplish our purpose, following the leadership of Govinda, conversant with the science of politics. That personage whose fame hath spread all over the world, for the successful accomplishment of one purpose, one should ever place Krishna in the van. That foremost of personages, whose strength consists in wisdom and policy, and who possesseth a knowledge of both method and means, for the accomplishment of one purpose, let, therefore, Arjuna, the son of Pritha, follow Krishna, the foremost of the Yadavas, and let Bhima follow Arjuna. Policy and good fortune and might will bring about success in a matter requiring valor. Thus addressed by Yudhishthira, the trio, Krishna, Arjuna, and Bhima, all possessed of great energy, set out for Magadha, attired in the garb of Sinataka, Brahmanas of resplendent bodies, and blessed by the agreeable species of friends and relatives, possessed of superior energy, and of bodies all red like the sun, the moon, and the fire, inflamed with wrath at the sad lot of their relative kings. Those bodies of theirs became much more blazing, and the people, beholding Krishna and Arjuna, both of whom had never before been vanquished in battle with Bhishma in the van, are ready to achieve the same task, regarded Jarasandha as already slain, for the illustrious pair were masters that directed every operation. All acts relating to the morality, wealth, and pleasure of every being. Having set out from the country of the Kurus, they passed through Kurujangala and arrived at the charming lake of lotuses, passing over the hills of Kalakuta. They then went on crossing the Gandaki, the Sadanira, and the Sarkaravarta, and the other rivers, taking their rise in the same mountains. They then crossed the delightful Sarayu and saw the country of eastern Kusala. Passing over that country, they went to Mithila, and then crossing the Mala and Karamanvati, the three heroes crossed the Ganges and the Son, and went on towards the east. At last, those heroes of unfaded glory arrived at Magadha in the heart of Kushamva, reaching then the hills of Goratiha. They saw the seat of Magadha, that was always filled with kine and wealth and water, and hundred handsome with the innumerable trees standing there. Vasudeva said, Behold, Partiha, the great capital of Magadha, standing in all its beauty, filled with flocks and herds, and its stock of water never exhausted, and adorned with fine mansions, standing in excellent array. It is free from every kind of calamity. The 5 large hills of Vaihara, Varaha, Vrishava, Hizhiri, and the delightful Haitiya, are of high peaks and overgrown with tall trees of cool shade and connected with one another, seem to be jointly protecting the seat of Girivraja. The breasts of the hills are concealed by forests of delightful and fragrant lodihas, having the ends of their branches covered with flowers. It was here that the illustrious Gautama of rigid vows begat on the Sudra woman Ausinari, Kakishivat, and other celebrated sons. That the race sprung from Gautama doth yet live under the sway of an ordinary human race, is on evidence of Gautama kindness to kings. It was here that in olden times the mighty monarchs of Anga and Vanga and other countries came to the abode of Gautama and passed their days in joy and happiness. Behold those forests of delightful pipalas and beautiful lodihas standing near the side of Gautama abode. There dwelt in old days those Nagas, Arvuda and Sakravapin, those persecutors of our enemies, as also the Naga Sivastika and that other excellent Naga called Mani. Manu himself had ordered the country of the Magadhas to be never afflicted with drought, and Kaushika and Manimat have favored the country, owning such a delightful and impregnable seat. Jarasandha is ever bent on seeking the fruition of his purpose, unlike other monarchs. We shall, however, by slaying him today, humble his pride. Thus saying, those brothers of abundant energy, he of the Vrishni haze, and the 2 Pandavas entered the seat of Magadha. They then approached towards the impregnable seat of Girivraja, that was full of cheerful and well-fed inhabitants belonging to all the 4 orders, and where festivities were perennial. On arriving then at the gate of the city, the brothers began to pierce the heart of the high Haitiaka peak that was worshipped by the race of Vrihadratya, as also by the citizens, and which delighted the hearts of all the Magadhas. There Vrihadratha had slain a cannibal called his Hava, and having slain the monster, made of his hide 3 drums which he placed in his own city. And those drums were such that on beating their sound lasted on full month. And the brothers broke down the Haitiaka peak that was delightful to all the Magadhas. At that point where those drums covered with celestial flowers used to yield their continuous sound. And desirous of slaying Jarasandha, they seemed but that act of theirs to place their feet upon the head of their foe, and attacking with their might arms that immovably and hug and hide and ode and celebrate peak always worshipped with perfumes and floral wreaths, those heroes broke it down, and with joyful hearts they then entered the city. And it so happened that the learned Brahmanas residing within the city saw many evil omens, which they reported to Jarasandha. And the priest made the king mount an elephant wheeled like that branch about him, and King Jarasandha, possessed of great prowess with a view to warding off those evils, entered upon the celebration of a sacrifice, with proper vows and fasts. Meanwhile, the brothers unarmed or harder, with their bare arms as their own weapons, desirous of fighting with Jarasandha, entered the capital in the guise of Sinataka Brahmanas. They beheld the extraordinary beauty of the shops, full of various edibles and floral wreaths, and supplied with articles of every variety, of various qualities that men can desire. Those best of men, Krishna, Bhima, and Dhananjaya, beholding in those shops their affluence, passed along the public road, and ended with great strength they snatched forcibly from the flower vendors the garlands they had exposed for sale. And attired in robes of various colors, and decked in garlands and earrings, the heroes entered the abode of Jarasandha, possessed of great intelligence, like Himalayan lions eyeing cattle folds, and the arms of those warriors, besmeared with sandal past, looked like the trunks of sala trees. The people of Magadha, beholding those heroes, looking like elephants, with necks broad like those of sala trees, and with chests, began to wonder much. Those bow among men, passing through 3 gates that were crowded with men, proudly and cheerful approached the king. And Jarasandha, rising up in haste, received them with water to wash their feet with, and honey, and the other ingredients of the arghya, with gifts of kind, and with other forms of respect. The great king, addressing them, said, "Ye are welcome." And both Partha and Bhima remained silent at this, and addressing the monarch, said, "King of kings, these 2 are now in the observance of a vow, therefore they will not speak. Silent they will remain till midnight. After that hour they will speak with thee." The king then, quartering his guests in the sacrificial apartments, retired into his private chambers. And when midnight arrived, the monarch arrived at the place where his guests, attired as Brahmanas, were. For that ever victorious monarch observed this vow, which was no throughout the wars, that as soon as he should hear of the arrival of Sinataka Brahmanas at his place, should it be even at midnight, he would immediately come out and grant them an audience. Beholding the strange attire of his guests, that best of kings wondered much, for all that, however, he waited on them respectfully. Those bulls among men, those slayer of our foes, on the other hand, beholding King Jarasandha, said, let salvation be attained by thee, without difficulty. Having said this unto the monarch, they stood looking at each other. Jarasandha then said unto those sons of Pandu and him of the Yadu race, all disguised as Brahmanas, take your seat. And those bulls among men sat themselves down, and like the 3 priests of a great sacrifice blazed forth in their beauty, and King Jarasandha, firmly devoted to truth, censuring the disguised guests, said unto them, It is well known to me that in the whole world Brahmanas in the observance of Sinataka vow never decked their persons with garlands and fragrant past unseasonably. Who are ye, therefore, thus decked with flowers and with hands bearing the marks of the bowstring, attired in colored robes and decked unseasonably with flowers and past, ye give me to understand that ye are Brahmanas, although ye bear Kshatriya energy. Tell me truly who ye are. Truth decks even kings. Breaking down the peak of the Haitiaka hill, why have ye, in disguise, entered by improper gate, without fear of the royal wrath? The energy of a Brahmana dwelleth in his speech. This your feet is not suited to the order to which ye profess to belong. Tell us, therefore, the end ye have in view. Arrived here by such an improper way, why accept ye not the worship I offer? What is your motive for coming to me? Thus addressed by the king, the high-souled Krishna, well skilled in speech, thus replied unto the monarch in a calm and grave voice. Know us for Sinataka Brahmanas, Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas are all competent to observe the vow of Sinataka. This vow, besides, have special and general rules. A Kshatriya observing this vow with special rules always achieve prosperity. Therefore have we decked ourselves with flowers. Kshatriyas again exhibit their energy by their arms and not in speech. It is, therefore, son of Vrihadratya, that the speech uttered by Kshatriya are never audacious. The Creator hath planted his own energy in the arm of the Kshatriya. If thou wishest to behold it, thou shalt certainly behold it today. These are the rules of the ordinance, that an enemy abode should be entered through a wrong gate, and a friend abode through the right one. And know that this is our eternal vow, that having entered the four abode for the accomplishment of our purpose, we accept not the worship offered to us. Jarasandha said, I do not recollect if I ever act injuriously towards ye. Even upon a careful mental scrutiny, I fail to see the injury I did unto ye, when I have never done ye an injury. Why, ye Brahmanas, do ye regard me, who am innocent, as your foe? Answer me truly, for this, indeed, is the rule followed by the honest. The mind is spent at the injury to own pleasure and morality. That Kshatriya who injures an innocent man pleasure and morality, even if he be otherwise a great warrior and well versed in all rules of morality, obtains without any doubt the fate of sinners, and falls off from prosperity. The practices of the Kshatriyas are the best of those that are honest in the 3 worlds. Indeed, those that are acquainted with morality applaud the Kshatriya practice, adhering to those practices of my order with steady soul. I never injure those that are under me. In bringing this charge, therefore, against me, it appears that ye speak erroneously. Krishna said, Thou of might arms, there is a certain person at the head of a line who upholdeth the dignity of his haste. At his command have we come against thee. Thou hast brought many of the Kshatriyas of the world as captives, having perpetrated that wicked wrong. How dost thou regard thyself as innocent? How can a king act wrongful towards other virtuous kings? But thou, treating other kings with cruelty, seekest to offer them a sacrifice unto the god Rudra, son of Vrihadratya. This sin committed by thee may touch even us, for as we are virtuous in our praxis, we are capable of protecting virtue. The slaughter of human being, a sacrifice unto the gods, is never sin. Why dost thou, therefore, seek to perform a sacrifice unto God Sankara by slaughtering human beings? Thou art addressing persons belonging to thy own order as animals. Who as thou art, who else is capable of behaving in this way? On always obtaineth the fruits of whatever acts one performeth under whatever circumstances. Therefore, desirous as we are of helping our distressed people, we have, for the prosperity of our race, come hither to slay thee, the slaughterer of our relatives. Thou thinkest that there is no man among the Kshatriyas. This is a great error of judgment on thy part. What Kshatriyas is there, who endowed with greatness of soul, and recollecting the dignity of his own parentage, would not ascend to eternal heaven, that hath not its like anywhere, falling in open fight? Know that Kshatriyas engage themselves in battle as persons installed in sacrifice, with heaven in view, and vanquish the whole world. Stood of the Vedas, great fame, ascetic penances, and death in battle are all acts that lead to heaven. The attainment of heaven by the three other acts may be uncertain, but death in battle hath that for its certain consequence. Death in battle is the sure cause of triumph, like Indra. It is graced by numerous merits. It is for this reason that he of 100 sacrifices hath become what he is, and by vanquishing the Asuras he ruleth the universe. Hostility with whom else than thee is so sure of leading to heaven. Proud as thou art of the excessive strength of thy vast Magadha host, don't disregard others. Valor dwelleth in every man. There are many men whose valor may be equal or superior to thine. As long as these are not known, so long on art thou noted for thy valor. Thy prowess can be borne by us. It is, therefore, that I say so. King of Magadha, cast off thy superiority and pride in the presence of those that are thy equals. Go not, with thy children and ministers and arm, into the regions of Yama, Damvodihava, Kartaviriya, Uttara, and Vrihadratya, where kings that meet with destruction, along with all their forces, for having disregarded their superiors. Desirous of liberating the captive monarchs from thee, know that we are certainly not Brahmanas. I am his Hezha, otherwise called Sauri, and these two heroes among men are the sons of Pandu. We challenge thee, fight standing before us, either set free all the monarchs, or go thou to the abode of Yama. Jarasandha has said, I never make a captive of a king without first vanquishing him, who hath been kept he that hath not been defeated in war. This it hath been said, is the duty that should be followed by the Kshatriyas, to bring others under sway by the exhibition of prowess, and then to treat them as slaves. Having gathered these monarchs with the intention of offering them a sacrifice unto the god, how shall I from fear liberating them today, when I recollect the duty I have hesitate of a Kshatriya, with troops against troops, riot in order of battle, or alone against one, or against two, or against three, at the same time or separately, I am ready to fight. Having spoken thus, and desiring to fight with those heroes of terrible achievements, King Jarasandha ordered Sahadeva to be installed on the throne. The king, on the eve of battle, talked of his two generals, Kausika and Khitrasena. These two were formerly called by everybody in the world of men by the respectful appellations of Hansa and Dimvaka. And that tiger among men, the Lord Sauri, ever devoted to truth, the slayer of Madhu, the younger brother of Haladihara, the foremost of all persons having their senses under complete control, keeping in view the command of Brahma, and remembering that the ruler of Magadha was destined to be slain in battle by Bhishma, and not by the descendant of Madhu, desired not to slay himself King Jarasandha, that foremost of all men, endowed with strength, that hero possessed of the prowess of a tiger, that warrior of terrible valor. Then that foremost of all speakers, Krishna of the Yadava race, addressing King Jarasandha, who was resolved upon fighting, said, with whom amongst us there dost thou desire to fight? Who amongst us shall prepare himself for battle? Thus addressed the ruler of Magadha, King Jarasandha, of great splendor, expressed his desire for fighting with Bhishma. The priest then, bringing with him the yellow pigment obtained from the coal and garlands of flowers and other auspicious articles, various excellent medicines for restoring lost consciousness and alleviating pain, approached Jarasandha, painting for battle. The king Jarasandha, on whose behalf propitiatory ceremonies with benedictions were performed by renowned Brahmana, remembering the duty of a Kshatriya, dressed himself for battle. Taking off his crown and binding his hair properly, Jarasandha stood up like an ocean, bursting its continents. Then the monarch, possessed of terrible prowess, addressing Bhishma, said, I will fight with thee. It is better to be vanquished by a superior person. And saying this, Jarasandha, that repressor of all foes, ended, rushed with great energy at Bhishmasena, like the Asura Vala of old, who rushed at the chief of the Celestials. In the mighty Bhishmasena, on whose behalf the gods had been invoked by Krishna, that cousin of his, having consulted with advanced towards Jarasandha, impelled by the desire of fighting. Then those tigers among men, those heroes of great prowess, with their bare arms as their own weapons, cheerfully engaged themselves in the encounter, each desirous of vanquishing the other, and seizing each other's arms and twinning each other's legs. They slapped their armpits, causing them closely to tremble at the sound, and frequently seizing each other's necks with their hands, and dragging and pushing it with violence, and each pressing every limb of his body against every limb of the other. They continued to slap their armpits, and sometimes stretching their arms, and sometimes drawing them close, and now raising them up, and now dropping them down. They began to seize each other. and striking neck against neck, and forehead against forehead. They caused fiery sparks to come out like flashes of lightning, and grasping each other in various ways by means of their arms, and kicking each other with such violence as to affect the innermost nerves. They struck at each other's breasts with clenched fists, with bare arms as their own weapons. Roaring like clowns, they grasped and struck each other like two mad elephants, encountering each other with their trunks. Incensed at each other's blow, they fought on dragging and pushing each other and fiercely looking at each other like two wrathful lions, and each striking every limb of the other with his own, and using his arms against the other, and catching hold of each other's waist, they hurled each other to a distance. Accomplished in wrestling, the two heroes clasping each other with their arms, and each dragging the other onto himself, began to press each other with great violence. The heroes then performed those grandest of all feats in wrestling, called pristabhiranga, which consisted in throwing each other down with face towards the earth, and maintaining the one knocked down in that position as long as possible, and employing his arms, each performed the feats called Sampurna Murkha and Purna Kumbhiha. At times they twisted each other's arms and other limbs as if these were vegetable fibres that were to be twisted into swords, and with clenched fists they struck each other at times, pretending to aim at particular limbs, while the blows descended upon other parts of the body. It was thus that those heroes fought with each other, the citizens consisting of thousands of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, and Vaisyas, and Sudras, and even women and the aged, came out and gathered there to behold the fight, and the crowd became so great that it was one solid mass of humanity with no space between body and body. The sound the wrestlers made by the slapping of their arms, the seizing of each other's necks for bringing each other down, and the grasping of each other's legs for dashing each other to the ground, became so loud that it resembled the roar of thunder or of falling cliffs. Both of them were foremost of mighty men, and both took great delight in such encounter. Desirous of vanquishing the other, each was on the alert for taking advantage of the slightest lapse of the other. The mighty Bhishma and Jarasandha fought terribly on in those lists, driving the crowd at times by the motions of their hands like Vritra and Vasava of old. Thus two heroes, dragging each other forward and pressing each other backward, and with sudden jerks throwing each other face downward and sideways, mangled each other dreadfully. And at times they struck each other with their knee joints, and addressing each other loudly in stinging speeches, they struck each other with clenched fists, the blows descending like a mass of stone upon each other, with broad shoulders and long arms, and both were skilled in wrestling encounters. They struck each other with those long arms of theirs that were like masses of iron. That encounter of the heroes commenced on the first day of the month of Kartik, and the illustrious heroes fought on without intermission and food, day and night, till the 13th lunar day. It was on the night of the 14th of the lunar fortnight that the monarch of Magadha desisted from fatigue. And Janardana, beholding the monarch, tired, addressed Bhishma of terrible deeds, and as if to stimulate him said, "A foe that is fatigued cannot be pressed for. if pressed at such a time, he may even die. Therefore, this king should not be oppressed by thee. On the other hand, fight with him with thy arms, putting forth as much strength on as thy antagonist hath now left. Then that slayer of hostile heroes, the son of Pandu, thus addressed by Krishna, understood the plight of Jarasandha, and forthwith resolved upon taking his life. And that foremost of our men ended with strength, that prince of Kuruhes, desirous of vanquishing the hitherto unvanquished Jarasandha, mustered all his strength and courage. Thus addressed, Bhishma, firmly resolved upon slaying Jarasandha, replied unto Krishna of the Yadu race, saying, This wretch that yet stayeth before me with sufficient strength and bent upon fight should not be forgiven by me. Hearing these words of Vrikodara, the tiger among men, Krishna, desiring to encourage that hero to accomplish the death of Jarasandha without any delay, answered, Exhibit today upon Jarasandha the strength thou hast luckily derived, the might thou hast obtained from the god Maruta. Thus addressed by Krishna, Bhishma, that slayer of foes, holding up in the air the powerful Jarasandha, began to whirl him on high. Having so whirled him in the air 400 times, Bhishma pressed his knee against Jarasandha's backbone and broke his body in twain. And having killed him thus, the mighty Vrikodara uttered a terrible roar, and the horror of the Pandava, mingling with that death knell of Jarasandha, while he was being broken on Bhishma's knee, caused a loud uproar that struck fear into the heart of every creature. And all the citizens of Magadha became dumb with terror, and many women were even prematurely delivered. And hearing those horrors, the people of Magadha thought that either the Himavat was tumbling down or the earth itself was being rent asunder. And those oppressors of our foes then, leaving the lifeless body of the king at the palace gate where he lay as on asleep, went out of the town. And Krishna, causing Jarasandha car, furnished with an excellent flagstaff, to be made ready, and making the brothers ride in it, went in and released his relatives. And those kings, rescued from terrible fate, reached in the possession of Jews. Approaching Krishna, made presents unto him of jewels and gems, and having vanquished his foe, Krishna, furnished with weapons and unwounded and accompanied by the kings, came out of Girivraja, riding in that celestial car. And he who could yield the bow with both hands, who was incapable of being vanquished by any of the monarchs on earth, who was exceedingly handsome in person and well skilled in the destruction of the foe, accompanied by the possessor of great strength, came out of that fort with Krishna, driving the car whereon he rode. And that best of cars, incapable of being vanquished by any king, ridden in by those warriors, Bhishma and Arjuna, and driven by Krishna, looked exceedingly handsome. Indeed, it was upon that car that Indra and Vishnu had fought of old in the battle, in which Taraka had become the immediate cause of much slaughter. And riding upon that car, Krishna now came out of the hill fort, possessed of the splendor of heated gold, and decked with rows of jingling bells, and furnished with wells whose clatter was like the roar of clowns, and ever victorious in battle, and always slaughtering the foe against whom it was driven. It was that very car riding upon which Indra had slain 99 asuras of old. And these bulls among men, having obtained that car, became exceedingly glad. The people of Magadha, beholding the long-armed Krishna along with the two brothers seated in that car, wondered much. That car, whereunto were yoked celestial horses, and which possessed the speed of the wind, thus ridden upon by Krishna, looked exceedingly beautiful. And upon that best of cars was a flagstaff without being visibly attached thereto, and which was the product of celestial skill. And the handsome flagstaff, possessed of the splendor of the rainbow, could be seen from the distance of a yojana. And Krishna, while coming out, talked of Gadyura, and Gadyura talked of his master, came thither in no time. Like a tree of vast proportions, standing in a village worshipped Baal. Gadyura, of immense weight of body, and living upon snakes, sat upon that excellent car along with the numberless open-mounted and frightful hovering creatures on its flagstaff. And thereupon that best of cars became still more dazzling with its splendor, and was incapable of being looked at by created beings as the midday sun surrounded by 1,000 rays. And such was that best of flagstaff of celestial make, that it never struck against any tree, nor could any weapon injure it at all, even talk visibly to men's eyes. And Achyuta, the tiger among men, riding with the two sons of Pandu upon that celestial car, the clatter of whose wheels was like the roar of the clouds, came out of Girivraja. The car upon which Krishna rode had been obtained by King Vasu from Vasava, and from Vasu by Vrihadratha, and from the latter in due course by King Jarasandha, and he of long arms and eyes like lotus petals, and possessed of illustrious reputation, coming out of Girivraja, stopped on a level plain outside the town. All the citizens then, with the Brahmanas at their head, hastened thither to adore him with due religion's rites. And the kings who had been released from confinement worshipped the slayer of Madhu with reverence, and addressing him with eulogies, said, "Thou of long arms, thou hast today rescued us, sunk in the deep mill of sorrow in the hand of Jarasandha. Such an act of virtue by thee, son of Devaki, assisted by the might of Bhima and Arjuna, is most extraordinary." Languishing as we all were in the terrible hill fort of Jarasandha, it was verily from sheer good fortune alone that thou hast rescued us, son of the Yadu race, and achieved thereby a remarkable reputation. Tiger among men, we bow down to thee. Command us what we shall do, however difficult of accomplishment thy command being made known to us, it will at once be accomplished by us. Thus addressed by the monarchs, the high-souled Hishikesa gave them every assurance and said, Yudhishthira is desirous of performing the sacrifice of Rajasuya. That monarch, ever guided by virtue, is solicitous of acquiring the imperial dignity. Having known this from me, assist ye him in his endeavors. Then all those monarchs with joyous hearts accepted the words of Krishna, saying, "So be it." And saying this, those lost of earth made presents of jewels unto him of the Dasarha race. And Govinda, moved by kindness towards them, took a portion of those presents. Then the son of Jarasandha, the high-souled Sahadeva, accompanied by his relatives and the principal officers of state, and with his priest in front came Dida. And the prince, beholding himself low and making large presents of jewels and precious stones, worshipped Vasudeva, that god among men. Then that best of men, Krishna, giving every assurance unto the prince afflicted with fear, accepted those presents of his of great value. And Krishna, joyful, installed the prince there, and then in the sovereignty of Magadha, and the strong-armed and illustrious son of Jarasandha, thus installed on the throne by those most exalted of men, and having obtained the friendship of Krishna, and treated with respect and kindness by the two sons of Pritha, he entered the seat of his father, and that bull amongst men, Krishna, accompanied by the sons of Pritha, and graced with great good fortune, left the seat of Magadha, laden with numerous jewels. Accompanied by the two sons of Pandu, Akhyuta, arrived at Indraprastha, and approaching Yudhishthira, joyful addressing that monarch, said, From good fortune the mighty Jarasandha have been slain by Bhima, and the kings confined have been all set free. From good fortune these two, Bhima and the Dhananjaya, are well and arrived at their own seat, unwounded. Then Yudhishthira worshipped Krishna as he deserved, and embraced Bhima and Arjuna in joy. And the monarch, who had no enemy, having obtained victory through the agents of his brothers in consequence of the death of Jarasandha, gave himself up to pleasure and merriment with all his brothers, and the eldest son of Pandu, together with his brothers, approached the kings who had come to Indraprastha, and entertaining and worshipping them, each according to his age, dismissed them all. Commanded by Yudhishthira, those kings with joyful hearts set out for their respective countries without loss of time, riding upon excellent vehicles. Thus did that tiger among men, Janardana, of great intelligence, caused his foe Jarasandha to be slain through the instrumentality of the Pandavas, and that chastiser of all foes, having thus caused Jarasandha to be slain, took leave of Yudhishthira and Pritha and Draupadi and Subhidihadra and Bhishmasena and Arjuna and the twins Nakula and Sahadeva. After taking leave of the Dhananjaya, he set out for his own city, riding upon that best of cars of celestial make, possessed of the speed of the mind, and given unto him by Yudhishthira, filling the 10 points of the horizon with the deep rare of its wells. And just Krishna was on the point of setting out. The Pandavas with Yudhishthira at their head walked round the tiger among men, who was never fatigued with exertion. And after the illustrious Krishna, the son of Devaki, had departed, having acquired that great victory and having dispelled the fears of the kings, that feat swelled the fame of the Pandavas. The Pandavas passed their days continuing to gladden the heart of Draupadi, and at that time whatever was proper and consistent with virtue, pleasure, and profit continued to be properly executed by King Yudhishthira in the exercise of his duties of protecting his subjects.